Welcome to another installment of Everything NHL, the hockey segment of the Fantasy Fanatics Podcast. I'm your host, Nathan, and we're here with our hockey expert, James Kumar.
Hey, what's up, man?
There weren't any games on Thursday because of Thanksgiving in the U.S. So we'll look at Wednesday's games. We'll take a look at some pickups, and then we'll preview Saturday's game. We'll go over some of Friday's games as well.
All right, sounds good. Let's hop into it.
All right, so I guess we could start with Boston Bruins versus the Buffalo Sabres. Really dominant performance by Boston. They were able to take the game 5-1, and they had, I think, 4 goals in the first period by Patrice Bergeron, Charlie Coyle, David Pastrnak, and Mike Riley. And Buffalo only scored 1 goal the entire game in the first period by Kyle Okposo. And Taylor Hall was able to get another goal in the third period for Boston. What do you think about this game?
Yeah, I mean, Boston, they haven't played as much games as everyone else in their division, but they're still playing really well. They should be a playoff team this year, the way that they've been playing. And then getting to Buffalo, I think this is their 4th straight loss. They're sort of becoming a Buffalo team that we sort of known that they were going to be heading into the season. I know they had a good start, but they're starting to level off now, and they're dropping in the standings. I think they'll probably be like a bottom 5 team in the league probably by the time the season's done.
Yeah, but I guess hopefully they can get a couple more wins before that happens.
Yeah, I mean, they definitely need to get some wins. It's going to be hard, though, because I feel like the talent level of their team doesn't match up with teams like Boston.
Yeah, so I guess the coach is going to have to figure out some tricks.
Yeah, for sure.
And I guess we can move on to the next game. I guess Philadelphia versus Florida went all the way down to the wire. Joel Farabee in the first period, Sam Bennett in the third. Aaron Ekblad was able to clutch the game out in overtime with a goal of his own for Florida. What do you think about this game?
Yeah, I mean, Florida's undefeated at home now, 11-0 on the season, really solid. They saved their record by winning in overtime here. Flyers, I feel like, have been slumping a little bit. I know they started off the season well. They still are 8-6-4, so pretty decent record, but I feel like they definitely need to turn things around. And yeah, Florida, they're like a top 3 team in the league. 14 wins on the year, 11-0 at home. Yeah, things have just been going really well for Florida.
Yeah, for sure. I'm guessing they're probably going to be a deep contender in the league now.
Yeah, definitely. This is a deep team overall. And yeah, once we get to the playoffs, we'll definitely have to see how they play.
For sure. And moving on to the next game, we have another game that went all the way down to the wire. Minnesota versus New Jersey. I guess in the first period, we had Ryan Hartman and Nico Sturm for Minnesota. And in the third period, we had Pavel Zacha and Yegor Sharangovich for New Jersey. No goals in overtime, so went all the way down to a shutout. To a shootout. What do you think about this game?
Yeah, this is a good win for Minnesota. I think Cam Talbot made like 40 saves in this game. He played really well. Kevin Fiala won it for them in the shootout with a goal. And yeah, that's pretty much what I can say. Like this Minnesota team, I believe they're like first in the Central, 12 wins, 6 losses. I mean, it's pretty solid as it gets. And New Jersey, 8-5-4, not too bad to start the year. They definitely are one of those teams that could level off, like we talked about with Buffalo, where they're playing a little bit above their heads to start the year. But so far, so good for them. So I guess we won't count them out.
For sure. And I guess moving on to the next game, we have Vancouver versus Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh had a pretty dominant performance here. Brian Rust, even Evan Rodriguez, and Zach Aston Reese for Pittsburgh in the second period. Bo Horvat with the only goal for the game for Vancouver in the third period, and Brock McGinn with another goal for Pittsburgh in the third. What do you think about this game?
Yeah, these are two teams that are heading in opposite directions. I think this was Pittsburgh's fourth win in a row. So, getting guys like Crosby and Dumoulin and them back, it's really helped the Penguins. They've just been surging right now. They're looking like the team we saw from last year, which is really solid. And then Vancouver, they're on the other end, just sliding at this point. Vancouver, they've lost 7 out of their past 8 games, pretty much near the bottom of the West right now. This season just really hasn't looked like a season where Vancouver even has a chance of making the playoffs. I don't know whether something needs to change. We mentioned coach firing, it didn't happen. I honestly don't know what to say about the Canucks right now.
Yeah, I guess now um, they might be thinking of maybe rebuilding, starting the rebuild next year. But I guess we'll have to see what their plans are.
Yeah, for sure. I really don't think they need to rebuild, but they definitely need to change something. If that's changing the core, we'll have to see. Maybe it's just changing some pieces around, but yeah, definitely something needs to be done.
For sure. And moving on to the next game, we have a pretty good game by both teams, but a really good game by Washington, able to beat the Montreal Canadiens 6-3. In the first period, we had Nick Dowd and John Carlson for Washington, and Michael Scarbosa for Washington as well. Jake Evans in for Montreal in the first period. In the second period, Evgeny Kuznetsov for Washington and Cole Caulfield for Montreal. And in the third period, we had Tom Wilson for Washington, Dmitry Orlov for Washington, and Arturi Lehkonen for Montreal. I mean, Montreal had 3 goals, which is good, but against Washington, it just wasn't enough. But what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, Washington at home, they're one of the best teams in the league. Um, and yeah, Montreal has just not been great on the year. This is like two opposite teams again. Washington, they're surging, they're playing really well. 12-3-5, an insane record. Montreal's 5-14-2, even getting players back from injury like Jake Allen, like others. It hasn't done them justice. They just can't seem to get it together. I honestly don't know what to say about Montreal anymore, but I guess getting back to Washington, yeah, they're one of the best teams in the league for sure.
Yeah, I mean, 6 goals is really impressive.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Anytime you get 6 goals, you should be able to get the win.
For sure. And moving on to another game, we have the Winnipeg Jets versus Columbus Blue Jackets. Columbus with a shutout. We had Gregory Hoffman in the first, Zach Werenski in the third, and Andrew Peeke in the third. No goals in the second period. Really impressive game by Columbus, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, getting the shutout against the Jets. Yeah, honestly, great on this Columbus team. They're still playing really solid. They're still keeping themselves in the hunt in the East. Could they drop off later in the season? Possibly. But as of right now, I mean, they're not looking like a team that's going to do that. And then as for the Jets, I mean, 9-6-2, the record's not bad. They're definitely going to have to improve a little bit, though, to make the playoffs in the West.
Yeah, for sure. And moving on to the St. Louis Blues versus Detroit. Really impressive game by Detroit. They were able to beat St. Louis 4-2. Pavel Buchnevich for St. Louis in the first, Lucas Raymond for Detroit in the first, Dylan Larkin in the second for Detroit, and in the third period we had David Perron for St. Louis and Adam Ernie and Robbie Fabry for Detroit in the third period as well. What do you think about this game?
Yeah, it's a much needed win for Detroit. I know they've been slumping a little bit. The record's back to 500, 9-9-3. They're still floating around in the East. I know they had dropped down a little bit. But yeah, good win for Detroit. And then for St. Louis, 10-7-2. The record's still pretty good. This is a loss they can afford to take. But of course, they can't let this turn into some kind of skid because they are a solid team right now. And that would definitely derail them.
Yeah, for sure. And I guess I'm pretty impressed with how Detroit has been going so far because they were just mostly expected to be a rebuilding team, I think. But if this is a rebuild, this is a really impressive one.
Yeah, I mean, slowly, year by year, I feel like Detroit will get better. Might not be this year, but at least they can sort of take those steps.
for sure. And I guess moving on to the Battle of New York, Rangers were able to beat the Islanders 4-1. So really good job by the Rangers. In the first period, there were no goals, but in the second period, we had two by the Rangers by Chris Kreider and Kevin Rooney. And in the third, we had Andy on Andreoff for New York in the third. And we had Kevin Rooney with another goal and Chris Kreider with another goal as well for the Rangers. What do you think about this game?
Yeah, I mean, the Islanders are on a huge skid right now. They lost 7 in a row. They've had a lot of players out, whether it's been injury or COVID, so not really going well for them at this point in the season. The Rangers, on the other hand, they're surging right now. 12 wins, 4 losses, 3 overtime. I mean, their record is so solid. They just, this was a routine win for them. They just go in there, they score, and they get the win. So good on the Rangers. And yeah, the Islanders need to turn something around for sure.
Yeah, I mean, the Rangers, they were solid last season as well, but it looks like they're starting to take a step up.
Yeah, I mean, this Rangers team should be a playoff team, and they're probably going to end up taking the New York Islanders spot from last year, to be honest. That's what I feel like.
Yeah, that's kind of what it looks like right now. And I guess we can move on to Vegas Golden Knights versus the Nashville Predators. Vegas, with another dominant performance, they were able to take this 5-1 against a pretty solid Predators team. Chandler Stevenson in the first for Vegas, and Jonas Ronberg and Adam Brooks for Vegas in the second. And in the third period, we had Philip Forsberg with 2 goals for Nashville. Those were the only goals for the game. And then we had Alex Pietrangelo and Mark Stone for Vegas in the third. What do you think about this?
Yeah, I mean, solid win for Vegas. They've been playing really well lately. 12-8 record. I mean, nothing more you can say. This Vegas team, they're getting healthy, turning their season around. They should be a playoff team this year, definitely. Then as for Nashville, I mean, they still have a pretty solid record, 10-8-1. They lose to a pretty tough Vegas team, so I wouldn't, make too much out of it. Hopefully Nashville can just bounce back for the next one.
For sure. And so I guess moving on to the next game, we have dominant performance by Colorado. They were able to beat the Ducks 5-2. And we had Sonny Milano for Anaheim in the first and Cale Makar for Colorado in the first. In the second period, we had Alex Newhook and Nicholas Obi Cabell for Colorado in the second. In the third period, we had Nazem Kadri and Valeri Nichushkin for Colorado in the third, and we had Sonny Milano with another goal for Anaheim. What do you think about this game?
Yeah, I mean, Colorado, they've been playing so much better lately. 10-5-1 record now. Kadri has an insane point streak going. I think he has like 21 points in his past 10 games. So Kadri's been really solid with Nathan McKinnon being out for Colorado. And yeah, Anaheim, on the other hand, they have a solid record. They also have 10 wins on the year. They lost to just a better Colorado team. That's all I can say. Anaheim's still a good team, but I think the better team won this game.
Yeah, for sure. So I guess Anaheim can't really be too disappointed. I think they did pretty well. It's just that Colorado has a really good offense.
Yeah, I definitely agree.
And I guess moving on to our next game, I think you'll be happy about this. Maple Leafs beating LA Kings 6-2. So a really good job by the Maple Leafs. We had Alexander Kerfoot in the first period for the Leafs. In the second period, we had a lot of goals by Toronto, Pierre Engvall, John Tavares, Austin Matthews, and Jason Spezza. And we had Victor Arvidsson for LA in the second as well. In the third period, we had Michael Bunting and we had for the Leafs, and we had Sean Jersey for LA. And what do you think about this game?
Honestly, this is a game where Toronto just pretty much outplayed them. And they won, as we saw on the scoreboard. They were just outplaying them most of the game. They got more goals and they got the win. I mean, LA had that huge winning streak. Now they've kind of leveled back off again to that mediocre team that they were before. And then as for Toronto, 14-6-1. They're playing really good hockey right now. They're like a top 5, top 10 team in the league. Yeah, that's pretty much what you can say. Toronto's been really solid.
Yeah, for sure. And I guess hopefully LA starts to go on another run.
Yeah, they're definitely going to need it. They've had injuries, so definitely got to start winning games.
Sure. And moving on to our next game, we have Seattle with the upset against Carolina. They were able to clutch the game out in the third period, 2-1. We had Brendan Smith for Carolina in the first, Jared McCann for Seattle in the second, and Marcus Johansson for Seattle in the third. What do you think about this Seattle performance?
Yeah, I think Seattle's a much better team at home than on the road. So seeing them win at home is not surprising, but doing it against a really solid team like Carolina, I mean, that's a big win, right? You definitely got to chalk those up. You got to sort of turn your season around. And then as for the Hurricanes, I mean, 14-3-1. Um, they've been so solid all year. This is just one loss. I'm pretty sure they'll be able to bounce back for the next game.
For sure. And moving on to our next game, we have Edmonton with a dominant performance against the Coyotes. They were able to win 5-3. And we had Clayton Keller in the first period for Arizona, Connor McDavid for Edmonton in the first as well. We have Leon Draisaitl in the second for Edmonton. And in the third period, we had Zach Kassian, Leon Draisaitl, and Connor McDavid for Edmonton in the third. And we had Travis Boyd and Shane Gostisbehere for Arizona in the third as well. What do you think about the performance by two teams?
Yeah, I mean, Arizona was starting to improve a little bit after their horrible start. I think they had points in like three straight games, so that was pretty solid. But the Oilers just came in and pretty much had their way, being the better team. They scored 5 goals in this game. They're like, what, 14-5 on the year? Yeah, Edmonton's pretty much surging at this point.
For sure. And I guess for Arizona, they're still basically still trying to rebuild. So I guess can't really be too disappointed with their performance.
Yeah, they're pretty much a lottery team. Not much else you can say. Every game for them is just a learning experience for the young guys.
For sure. And moving on to the next game, we have Ottawa falling to San Jose 3-6. Matt Nieto for San Jose in the first, Josh Norris for Ottawa in the first, Thomas Hurdle and Nick Bonino for San Jose in the second, and we have Brady Tkachuk and Connor Brown for Ottawa in the second as well. And in the third period, we had Timo Meyer, Logan Couture, and Jacob Middleton for San Jose. Ottawa, unfortunately, wasn't able to keep up with this team.
Yeah, I mean, Ottawa just had a really disappointing season. They had COVID a few weeks ago. They got their players back now, and they've still been slumping. 4 wins on the year, not going to cut it. They are rebuilding. They were hoping to take a step forward this year, but I guess they're probably going to have to wait another year for that. Let these players develop a little bit. And then, yeah, as for the Sharks, big win for them. They've been, getting solid wins throughout the year, so they're definitely in playoff contention in the West.
Yeah, for sure. And I guess moving on to some of Friday's games, we have um, Colorado Avalanche versus the Dallas Stars. A really big win by Dallas. They were able to take this game 3-1. We had Joe Pavelski with 2 goals in the first period, Dennis Guryanov for Dallas in the second period as well. And we had Cale Makar for Colorado's only goal of the game in the third period. What do you think about Dallas's game?
Yeah, Dallas is slowly getting better and better. They called up goalie Jake Ottinger. He's been playing in goal, and ever since he's come up, he's been so solid. I mean, you definitely gotta give him credit. Give them credit. They beat a good Avalanche team, so yeah, really solid on Dallas's part. And as for Colorado, they've been really hot coming into this game. Still a solid team. Can't really fault them for the loss.
For sure. And I guess moving on to Pittsburgh versus the New York Islanders. Um, Pittsburgh was able to, I guess, clutch out a really low scoring game. Only one goal for the entire game for Pittsburgh. Kasperi Kapanen in the second period with the only goal. What do you think about this performance by Pittsburgh?
Let me check who was the goalie. Wow, Tristan Jarry again. He's got another shutout. It's been so hot for Pittsburgh. What is this, like 5 wins in a row for them? They're really surging right now in the East. I mean, they're headed straight for the top. I mean, this Pittsburgh team, they're just playing out of their mind right now. And I mean, we talked about the Islanders already slumping. They got injuries, they got COVID. Not much they can do. They haven't won a game at home this season, which is really disappointing. And yeah, that's all I can say about the Islanders.
For sure. And I guess moving on to the next game, we have the New York Rangers versus the Boston Bruins. Really surprising win by New York. They were able to beat Boston 5-2. We have Craig Smith in the first period for Boston and Ryan Strome for the Rangers in the first as well. And in the second period, we have Patrice Bergeron for Boston and Dryden Hunt for the Rangers. And in the third period, we had a bunch of goals for the Rangers: Artemi Panarin, Alexis Lafreniere, and Jacob Trouba. What do you think about this dominant performance by the Rangers?
Yeah, I was kind of surprised. Normally, Boston, they're really solid at home. They did start out the game well. They were up 2-1. Then the Rangers just took over from there. I mean, both of these teams are like top teams in the East. I definitely expect them to keep, playing well. But yeah, this Rangers team's really surprising me this year. And their goalie, Shesterkin, is really solid. He's definitely going to be a Vezina finalist at the end of this year, the way he's been playing.
Yeah, for sure. And I guess moving on to St. Louis versus Chicago. This game went all the way down to the wire. Um, Chicago was able to clutch the game out in overtime for the win. We have Pavel Buchnovic and Ivan Barbashev for St. Louis in the first. Jujar Kyra for Chicago in the second period. And we had Brandon Hagel in the third for Chicago. And we had Alex DeBrincat in overtime for Chicago. What do you think about Chicago's upswing?
Yeah, I mean, Chicago's been playing better lately, slowly moving up in the standings. St. Louis, another loss here. We talked about their loss to Detroit. They lose to Chicago now. Not good losing to these teams below them. They definitely need to pick up their play for sure.
Yeah, but I guess for Chicago, it was kind of expected for them to have games like this. So I guess it's good that they're starting to figure out, I guess, their potential.
Yeah, I definitely agree. The players are playing a lot better. They're getting better goaltending. I like what Chicago's done to sort of, get things right.
For sure. And I guess moving on to the next game, we have Minnesota with a really dominant performance against the Jets. Minnesota was able to take the 7-1. And we have Alex Goligoski and Matt Zuccarello in the first period for Minnesota. And we had Ryan Hartman and Matt Zuccarello with another goal, and John Merrill for Minnesota in the second period. And we have Matt Dumba and Kirill Kaprizov for Minnesota in the third. And we have Pierre-Luc Dubois for Winnipeg with their only goal in the third period. What do you think about this game?
Yeah, this is disappointing for the Jets. I feel like they've lost 5. Yeah, they've lost 5 in a row. Minnesota, we talked about how good they're playing. I believe they're at the top of the Central. This is a divisional game, and the Jets, they're losing ground. Not good the way that they've gone on long losing streaks in both this year and last season. The Jets really need to turn things around. But yeah, as for Minnesota, this is a great game for them. Lots of scoring. They just got to keep doing what they're doing.
Yeah, for sure. And I guess moving on to another dominant performance, we have Carolina getting 6 goals against the Flyers 3. We have Ivan Provorov and Joel Farabee in the first for Philadelphia. And we have Sebastian Aho for Carolina in the first as well. We have Sebastian Aho for Carolina with another goal. And we have Jesper Fast and Jesperi Kotkaniemi and Steven Lawrence for Carolina as well. And for Philadelphia, we have Rasmus Ristolainen. And in the third period, we have Andrei Svechnikov for Carolina. No goals for Philadelphia in the third. What do you think about this game?
Yeah, big bounce back game for Carolina. We talked about their loss against Seattle. They needed to bounce back, and they did. Really solid for them. Flyers, we talked about them possibly slumping a little bit. They lost again in this game. I think, what is it, like 5 straight losses for Philadelphia? I mean, yeah, this is just not good right now. They really need to turn things around as well. Like we mentioned with Winnipeg, they're going to start losing ground in their division. So, yeah, a good win for Carolina, but the Flyers got to turn it around.
Yeah, for sure. And hopefully they turn it around soon.
Yeah, definitely.
And moving on to the next game, we have Anaheim with a shutout against Ottawa. We have Isaac Lundstrom in the first for Anaheim, Derek Grant and Troy Terry for Anaheim, and in the second and in the third period, we have Rickard Raquel for Anaheim. What do you think about this game?
Yeah, this is Anaheim just bouncing back from their poor performance last game. They get 4 goals, they get the shutout. Not much more you can say. We talked about Ottawa slumping. They just can't figure it out this year. And I mean, Anaheim, they might even be a playoff team this year the way they've been playing. They've been really solid.
Yeah, for sure. I'm guessing Anaheim, they were able to pull their rebuild off now. They're a borderline playoff team, if not just a playoff team outright. Ottawa, they're still trying to figure some things out.
Yeah, I definitely agree.
And I guess moving on to Florida versus Washington, really close game. Washington was able to clutch it out in the third. We have Jonathan Huberdeau for Florida, Tom Wilson in the second, and Alex Ovechkin with 2 goals in the second for Washington. Sam Reinhart for Florida in the second as well. And then the third period, we have Alex Ovechkin for Washington and Carter Verhaeghe for Florida. What do you think about this game between these two teams?
Yeah, this is a battle between 2 of the top teams in the East. Washington pulled out the win. Well, like we talked about, they've been playing so solid. Even though Florida's been good, they just couldn't top Washington here. Alex Ovechkin getting his hat trick, doing what he does best. Yeah, the Capitals, they're getting close to Florida now. They're like 1 win behind them. So, yeah, I definitely like what Washington's doing. And then as for Florida, like this is just 1 loss in my opinion. They don't really need to take it too seriously. I feel like that they're still really solid.
Yeah, for sure. And moving on to Nashville with a dominant performance against New Jersey. They were able to take this game 4-2. We have Roman Josi in the first for Nashville, Philip Tomasino in the second for Nashville. And in the third period, we have Michael Grunland for Nashville and Alexander Carrier for Nashville as well. And for New Jersey, we have Andreas Johnson and Thomas Tatar for New Jersey. What do you think about this game?
Yeah, talking about Nashville, we said after that Vegas loss that they should bounce back. They definitely did here. They beat a New Jersey team. Like I said, probably going to level off eventually. They were playing a little too good for, I guess, the level of team that they are. And it looks like Nashville they just came in and they won this game. They sort of put New Jersey in their place. And yeah, I feel like both teams, they're around where they should be. Nashville, borderline playoff team. And I guess New Jersey might be just outside the playoffs.
For sure. And I guess moving on, we have Buffalo with solid performance against Montreal. Tage Thompson in the first for Buffalo, Josh Anderson with the only goal of the game for Montreal. Cody Eakin for Buffalo in the second. Kyle Okposo for Buffalo in the second as well. And in the third period, we have Tage Thompson for Buffalo. They were able to take this 4-1, so a really solid performance by the Sabres.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Buffalo just came in. They were at home, and they beat a Montreal team that's really struggled winning as a road team. And yeah, even though Buffalo had been slumping, this was a good win for them. And as for Montreal, like I said, I really don't know what to say anymore. This team just cannot get it done. I don't know what it is.
I guess not having Carey Price definitely doesn't help. So I guess they're probably just waiting for him to come back.
At this point, yeah, I think that might be the case.
And I guess moving on to really impressive game by Tampa Bay. They were able to get a shutout against Seattle. We have Pierre-Edouard Bellemare for Tampa Bay in the first, Ross Colton for Tampa Bay in the second, and Steven Stamkos for Tampa Bay in the third. What do you think about this performance?
I mean, this is a classic Tampa Bay performance, beating a lower team like Seattle, getting the shutout, doing what they do. We know Tampa Bay is a contender. Not much else to say there. And then as for Seattle, like we said, they can get some wins at home. When it comes to playing on the road, they just can't get it done. And yeah, that pretty much happened in this game.
Yeah, kind of unfortunate for Seattle, but I guess moving on to another unfortunate game. Vancouver fell to Columbus 2-4, and we have Gustav Nyquist for Columbus in the first, and we have Vasily Podkolzin for Vancouver in the first as well. In the second period, we have Adam Boquist for Columbus, and we have Tyler Mott for Vancouver in the second. And in the third period, we have Jack Roslovic for Columbus and Max Domi for Columbus as well. What do you think about Columbus so far?
Like I mentioned, they've been playing solid. I mean, they're really putting themselves in playoff contention. Every game, no matter which team it is, they're playing hard and they're getting a lot of wins. So I definitely like that. And then as for Vancouver, we talked about them. They just can't seem to get a win right now. I don't know what's going on with this team.
Yeah, I was kind of expecting Vancouver to try to take a step up, but it looks like whatever they're trying right now, it's not working. So hopefully they start to get creative.
Yeah, I honestly don't know what they got to do at this point.
And I guess moving on to a really solid game by Dallas, they were able to take a win off of Colorado 3-1.
And I believe we just got to the end. I think we got all the games.
Okay. We got all the games then. So I guess that pretty much wraps up the recap. So I guess we'll move on to the pickups. And I guess who do you got for forwards?
All right, so for forward pickups, I have Tage Thompson from the Buffalo Sabres. We talked about him. He just had 2 goals in that win over Montreal. He's been averaging 4 shots in his past 3 games. He gets hits as well. His plus minus has been even. It's not going to hurt you. He plays on the power play. Definitely go pick him up as he's try eligible in Yahoo. He plays all 3 forward positions. And then Yanni Gourde for Seattle. Talked about him last week. He's definitely pretty solid, although he didn't score in this past game against Tampa Bay. And the 2 previous games, he had 3 points. He was an even plus minus. He played on the power play. He got a point. And he's been getting shots and hits. So, yeah, definitely look at Yanni Gourde. Then I have Lawson Krause. He's more of a shot and hit specialist. He's going to average around 2 shots and 2 hits per game, which is pretty solid, I guess, when it comes to categories of fantasy. He'll get the odd point here or there. I think he had 3 points in his last 5 games. And he does play on the power play, so you might get some exposure there. So, yeah, definitely go pick up Lawson Krause.
For sure. And I guess I got a couple of guys you can look at forwards. I have Bone Jenner. Again, he has nine goals for the season, 4 assists, 51 shots. He's about -5, but Columbus is on an upswing right now. So you should definitely be able to pick him up as he's 36% rostered. And I guess my next pickup would be, I guess, Evan Rodriguez for Pittsburgh. He's been playing really solid, especially for, I guess, a deep league pickup. 7 goals, 7 assists, plus 555 shots. Really solid all around. Even if you're in a shallower league, you could actually pick him up and he'd be pretty solid for you. And I guess for my next pickup, I have Marcus Foligno for Minnesota. Another really solid forward off the waiver wire. He's about 41% rostered right now, so he's more of a shallow league pickup, but he has 7 goals, 5 assists. He's +5. He has 25 shots. He gets hits as well, so really good category coverage for Marcus Foligno. So someone you can definitely pick up. And I guess, who do you have for defense?
All right, for my defense pickups, I have Dmitry Orlov from the Washington Capitals. He's been really solid. I think he's had like 8 shots in his past 2 games, something insane like that. He'll average around 1 hit per game usually. I think not this game against Florida, but the previous game against Montreal, he had a goal and an assist, and he was +3. Then he had an assist before that, and his plus minus is just insane this year. If you need a defenseman, it's going to be plus for pretty much the whole year. Orlov's your guy. Definitely go pick him up, throw him at the end of your bench or something. And then I have Eric Johnson again. He's more of a deep league kind of guy. He's around 10% owned in Yahoo. I mean, he's been solid for Colorado. I think he's been like +3 over his last 5 games or something. He's been getting shots and hits every game. So getting defensemen like that, he might not get points every game, but if he's getting shots and hits, he's contributing in category leagues. So definitely go pick up Eric Johnson.
For sure. And I guess I got a couple of guys for defense that maybe you could take a look at. First one is Shane Gaudespier for Arizona Coyotes. Coyotes haven't been doing good, but Shane Gaudespier has been doing good. He's more of a defenseman who gets a lot of assists, but he gets a decent amount of goals too, about 3. He has 12 assists, 43 shots. He's at 0 right now for plus minus, so he's definitely not going to hurt you if you pick him up. Again, 44% rostered, so he's more of a shallow league pickup. And I guess for a deep league pickup, you could look maybe at Derek Forsberg for Boston. He has 4 goals. He has an assist. He's +2. He's got 18 shots. He gets a little bit of hits as well. So if you need a more offensive defenseman off the waiver wire, especially in a deep league, he should be available. He should be available in any league. So especially in a deep league, you can definitely pick him up. And I guess for goalie, who do you have?
Yeah, I got James Reimer again. We got to get him to 50% roster. This guy's been playing insane lately. I guess I think he is starting tonight against Toronto. The game's just getting underway, but in the games before that, 2 straight wins, 3 wins out of his past 4. He's been posting insane numbers on the year. I think in terms of the season, 1.98 goals against average, 936 save percentage. Those are some insane numbers for fantasy. He's going to really boost your averages. And he's been getting a lot of wins. So really solid. Definitely go pick him up.
Yeah, for sure. And I guess for my goalie, I have Jake Ottinger for the Dallas Stars. 36% rostered right now, but I don't think it's going to stay that way for long. He has three wins so far. His goals against average is 1.29. His save percentage is basically 95%. So he's been playing really solid for the games that he's been starting for Dallas. They're probably going to be starting him more as long as he's hot. So as long as he gets the start, you should definitely pick him up and start him. And I guess that about covers it for the pickups. So I guess we'll move on to the previews now. And I guess we can start with Seattle versus Florida. Who do you think takes this game?
Yeah, I mean, Florida's undefeated at home. I got to go with them. We also talked about Seattle's struggles as a road team. So I think it makes sense to go with Florida.
For sure. And I guess moving on to Edmonton versus Vegas. Really solid teams, both of them. But who do you think takes this?
This is going to be a tough matchup. Vegas is home, but I think I'm still going to go with the Oilers. They've been really solid all year. I definitely think they can get a win here.
All right. And I guess Ottawa versus Los Angeles. Who do you think takes this?
Yeah, I mean, both teams have been slumping, but I feel like Ottawa's been slumping a little bit more. I'm going to go with the Kings here. I think they're a little bit better than Ottawa. So, yeah, I'll go with them.
All right. And I guess we have Buffalo versus Detroit. Who do you think takes this game?
I like Detroit at home here. They're one of the better home teams. I know on the road they haven't been as great, but yeah, at home I definitely think they can beat Buffalo. So I'll go with them.
All right. And moving on to Montreal versus Pittsburgh, I guess we can expect Pittsburgh to get the win here.
I mean, they've won 5 in a row. Why fade them now? Might as well just keep riding with them. They're really solid.
All right. And moving on to Dallas versus Arizona. Dallas has been really solid right now, so I guess do you think they can beat the Coyotes?
Oh yeah, I definitely think so. Dallas, they're another team. I don't know whether Ottinger is going to play or not, but I think they are sort of moving in the right direction. So I think I'd be okay going with Dallas here.
All right. And moving on to Columbus versus St. Louis. St. Louis has been looking a little shaky, but do you think they can kind of tighten up a little bit against Columbus?
I think they should be able to get it done at home. Not 100% sure because Columbus has been playing well, but yeah, I think St. Louis does get it right here and get the win.
All right. And moving on to Nashville versus Colorado. Who do you think takes this game?
Yeah, I don't think there's a chance that Colorado loses back to back. I think they have to get a win here. They should definitely be able to win against Nashville.
All right. And I guess we have Winnipeg versus the Calgary Flames. Flames have been really solid right now. They're on a win streak. Do you think they can continue it?
The Jets have been slumping, so I think I'm just going to keep riding with Calgary. They've just been so good, especially if Markstrom starts in net. He's just been one of the best goalies in the league. So yeah, I'll go with Calgary here.
For sure. And I guess we're at the end of the podcast now. Do you have any final thoughts?
Honestly, I was talking about last week how some teams are going to level off. We started to see it. Some of the teams that they had hot starts, but they're not as good. They're sort of coming down. And I guess the true powerhouse teams are sort of showing themselves, like Pittsburgh. You mentioned Calgary. I mentioned like Toronto, Tampa Bay, Florida, Carolina. Like those are the really solid teams. Even Vegas is coming up now. So yeah, I definitely like the way the teams are sort of just evening out to where they really should be in the standings.
Yeah, I'm really impressed by, I guess, Jake Ottinger for Dallas. Dallas has been like a little bit shaky. They haven't really been able to play to their potential, but putting Jake in the nets really helps them. So I guess hopefully they keep riding Jake as long as he's hot.
Yeah, you definitely got to ride him. He's just been really solid.
Yeah, for sure. And I guess that about wraps everything up for everything NHL. If you liked what you watched, you can definitely hit the subscribe button, hit the bell for notifications, leave us a like, give us a review, give us your thoughts on the NHL so far. And if you liked what you listened to, you can take you can follow us on Spotify. You can also follow us on Apple Music and Google Podcasts. And if you need some sports picks, you can follow us at Fan Podcast on both Twitter and Instagram. And we'll see you guys next week.